But we don't let anybody say anything remotely close to any other nationality or any other people group or anything like that, but we accept it in the church.
Yeah.
Welcome.
I mean, it's the discriminatory behavior in the church, I think, is more severe than societal discrimination, because, you know, our spirituality, I mean, that's the basis, the core, the essence, you know, of who we are. And so that's what creates these different perceptions, you know, concerning, you know, race, gender, sexual partner preference, what have you. So the spiritual discrimination is just as severe or even worse than the racial discrimination.
And I don't know why we accepted it so much. You know, like you're talking about before, you were a premier person because of your understanding of the Pentecostal way. You were superior to everybody else. And so because while you're in that superior state of mind, it's hard to consider the other person who we're calling and saying, or you're going to die and go to hell, to consider what they went through. Were they abused? Were they, you know, by their parents or somebody else? Are they in a physical relationship now? Or, you know, are they addicted? Like we have no consideration of feelings of the person. We just hold fast to a doctrine of death, you know, and that death will put somebody in hell in the grave. And I'm sitting there thinking, isn't it interesting that Jesus created the temple, created the Jewish religion, made all of their sacrifices and all of their days and religions and all their performances, and then he comes down and he calls what he created, he says, you're whitewashed vipers, you're you know, dead in the tomb, and he starts insulting the very thing that he created. And I'm sitting there questioning, like, is anybody not noticing that Jesus is condemning man's performance of religion?
Right.
And then he even finds that he has no place in that, and he leaves that church, leaves that temple, and goes out in society and doesn't present a gospel of doctrine, but a relationship of love and grace.
Absolutely. You know, when you mentioned it about when Jesus would become very angry and insulting to the religious leaders, he never did that to the multitudes.
Wow.
You know, whenever he preached to the multitudes, he always focused on love, compassion, forgiveness, mercy, and grace. He never condemned the multitudes when he preached to them. It was only the religious people where he expressed anger and absolute disgust for their behavior, because they were trying to leverage the multitude, you know, to become a part of their way of living and doing and being. And Jesus simply wouldn't tolerate that. It makes me think about the passage, and it's found in Matthew and Mark, when Matthew became one of Jesus' disciples. I mean, Matthew was a publican, he was a racketeer, he was a money launderer. And Jesus told him, said, follow me. And he left his receipt of custom, followed Jesus, and then Matthew ended up having a banquet at his house. Jesus was the guest of honor. And so all the religious people came, you know, like they were, you know, the religious press, keeping up with Jesus' every move so they could get a quote to use against him in the Jerusalem Daily Times or whatever. And Jesus told him, he said, they that be whole need not a physician, but they that are sick. Now, what I gained from that was the people that were sick were the religious people, not the publicans, not the harlots, not all of those that were considered outcasts of society. The reason why they were whole, because they were with Jesus. And the fact that they were in relationship with Jesus, that's where the wholeness began. The wholeness began with the relationship. But the ones that were sick were the ones that were ingrained with their religion and tried to enforce it, upon the very ones that Jesus came to save. Jesus said, I will have mercy and not sacrifice. He said, I did not come to call the righteous, but sinners to repentance. Now, the publicans and the harlots and all those who fell under that category, they were the righteous ones. He didn't call for them because he was already with them. But sinners to repentance, it was the religious leaders that were the sinners. They were the ones who needed to come to repentance.